Hello friends, today we will do chapter number 6, The Remarkable Rocket. The king's son was going to be married, so there were general rejoicings. He had waited a whole year for his bride, and at last she had arrived. She was a Russian princess and had driven all the way from Finland in a sledge drawn by 6 reindeer. So pale was she that as she drove through the streets, all the people wondered. "She is like a white rose," they cried, and they threw down flowers on her from the balconies. At the gate of the castle, the prince was waiting to receive her. He had dreamy violet eyes, and his hair was like fine gold. When he saw her, he sank upon one knee and kissed her hand. After 3 days of preparation, the marriage was celebrated. It was a magnificent ceremony, and the bride and bridegroom walked hand in hand under a canopy of purple velvet embroidered with little pearls. Then there was a state banquet, which lasted for 5 hours. The prince and princess sat at the top of the great hall and drank out of a cup of clear crystal. After the banquet, there was to be a ball. The bride and bridegroom were to dance the rose dance together, and the king had promised to play the flute. He played very badly, but no one had ever dared tell him so, because he was the king. The last item on the program was a grand display of fireworks, to be let off exactly at midnight. The little princess had never seen a firework in her life, so the king had given orders that the royal pyrotechnician should be in attendance on the day of her marriage. "What are fireworks like?" she had asked the prince one morning as she was walking on the terrace. "They are like the aurora borealis," said the king, who always answered questions that were addressed to other people, only much more natural. "I prefer them to stars myself, as you always know when they are going to appear, and they are as delightful as my own flute playing." "You must certainly see them." So at the end of the king's garden a great stand had been set up, and as soon as the royal pyrotechnician had put everything in its proper place, the fireworks began to talk to each other. Suddenly, a sharp, dry cough was heard, and they all looked around. It came from a tall, supercilious-looking rocket, who was tied at the end of a long stick. He always coughed before he made any observation, so as to attract attention. "Ahem, ahem," said the rocket, and everybody listened. "Order, order," cried out the cracker. As soon as there was perfect silence, the rocket coughed a third time and began. "How fortunate it is for the king's son," he remarked, "that he is to be married on the very day on which I am to be let off. Really, if had been arranged beforehand. It could not have turned out better for him. But princes are always lucky. "Dear me," said the little square. "I thought it was quite the other way, and that we were to be let off in the prince's honor." "It may be so with you," he answered. "Indeed, I have no doubt that it is. But with me it is different. I am the remarkable rocket, and come of remarkable parents. My mother was the most celebrated Catherine Wheel of her day, and was renowned for her graceful dancing. When she made her great public appearance, she spun round 19 times before she went out, and each time that she did so she threw into the air 7 pink stars. She was 3 feet and a half in diameter, and made of the very best gunpowder. My father was a rocket like myself, and of French extraction. He flew so high that the people were afraid that he would never come down again. He did, though, for he was a kindly disposition, and he made a most brilliant descent in a shower of golden rain. The newspapers wrote about his performance in very flattering terms. Indeed, the Court Gazette called him a triumph of pyrotechnic art. I was thinking, suppose, for instance, anything happened to me tonight, what a misfortune that would be for everyone. The prince and princess would never be happy again. Their whole married life would be spoiled. And as for the king, I know he would not get over it. Really, when I begin to reflect on the importance of my position, I am almost moved to tears. "If you want to give pleasure to others," cried the Roman candle, "you had better keep yourself dry." "Certainly," exclaimed the Bengal light. "Ah, what a trivial view of life," said the rocket. "But it is only what I expected. There is nothing in you. You are hollow and empty." "You had really better keep yourself dry," said the fire balloon. "That is the important thing, very important for you, I have no doubt," answered the rocket. "But I shall weep if I choose." And he actually burst into real tears, which flowed down his cheek like raindrops. Then the moon rose like a wonderful silver shield, and the stars began to shine, and a sound of music came from the palace. The prince and princess danced so beautifully that the flowers peeped in at the window and watched them. Then 10 o'clock struck, and then 11, and then 12, and at the last stroke of midnight, everyone came out on the terrace, and the king sent for the royal pyrotechnician. "Let the fireworks begin," said the king, and the royal pyrotechnician with his 6 attendants marched down to the end of the garden. Each of them carried a lighted torch at the end of a long pole. It was certainly a magnificent display. Whiz, Whiz went the Catherine wheel as she spun round and round. Boom, boom went the Roman candle. Then the squibs danced all over the place, and the Bengal lights made everything look scarlet. Goodbye, cried the fire balloon as he soared away, dropping tiny blue sparks. Bang, bang, answered the crackers, who were enjoying themselves immensely. Everyone was a great success, except the remarkable rocket. He was so damp with crying that he could not go off at all. The best thing in him was the gunpowder, and that was so wet with tears that it was of no use. Huzzah! Huzzah! Cried the court, and the little princess laughed. With pleasure, I suppose they are reserving me for some grand occasion, said the rocket. No doubt that is what it means. And he looked for more supercilious than ever. The next day, the workmen came to put everything tidy. This is evidently a deputation, said the rocket. I will receive them becoming dignity. So he put his nose in the air and began to frown severely. But they took no notice of him at all till they were just going away. Then one of them caught sight of him. "Hallo!" he cried. "What a bad rocket!" And he threw him over the wall into the ditch. "Bad rocket! Bad rocket!" he said as he whirled through the air. "Impossible! Grand rocket!" That is what the man said. Bad and grand sound very much the same. Indeed, they often are the same. Then he fell into the mud. He sank a little deeper still into the mud when suddenly two little boys came running down the bank with a kettle and some sticks. "Thus must be deputation," said the rocket, and he tried to look very dignified. "Hullo!" cried one of the boys. "Look at this old stick. I wonder how it came here." And he picked the rocket out of the ditch. "Let us put it into the fire," said the other boy. "It will help to boil the kettle." So they plied the sticks together and put the rocket on top and lit the fire. "This is magnificent!" cried the rocket. "They are going to let me off in broad daylight so that everyone can see me." "We will go to sleep now," they said, "and when we wake up the kettle will be boiled." The boys lay down on the grass and shut their eyes. The rocket was very damp, so he took a long time to burn. At last, however, the fire caught him. "Now I am going off," he cried, and he made himself very stiff and straight. "I know I shall go much higher than the stars, much higher than the moon, much higher than the sun. In fact, I shall go so high that fizz, fizz, fizz," and he went straight up into the air. "Delightful!" He cried, I shall go on like this forever. What a success I am! But nobody saw him, not even the boys. They were fast asleep.